This is a sample of the information provided as part of the flexible training resources available through HACCP.com. Our training courses are designed to provide training participants with an understanding of food safety and quality system elements and also offer user-friendly assessment activities and competency checklists to complete the training cycle. Good housekeeping practices. Key definitions for good housekeeping practices. Housekeeping, cleanliness, neatness and orderliness of an area with a designation of a proper place for everything and everything in its proper place. Good housekeeping practices often preclude the occurrence of product contamination within food businesses. Good housekeeping practices development. When considering the development, documentation and implementation of good housekeeping practices within food safety and quality management systems, the following information should be considered to ensure effective outcomes. About good housekeeping practices. Placement of items. Restricted items in specified areas. Cleanliness. Cross-contamination. About good housekeeping practices. The goals of good housekeeping practices are to reduce potential threats to the safety and quality of foods during all stages of processing, storage and handling. The advantages of good housekeeping practices include team building and reliance, conservation of time and effort whilst working, improvement of workplace safety, minimized risk of product or process contamination, improved effectiveness of pest control programs and the protection of machines and equipment used in processing. The requirements of good housekeeping practices include regular cleaning, cleaning all spills and breakages as soon as they occur, placing all waste into regularly emptied bins, ensuring all equipment is maintained in a good state of repair and is covered or stored when not in use, cleaning ingredient and raw material containers regularly and removing unused or discarded containers from processing areas immediately, keeping all processing areas clean. Placement of items. Storing chemicals, waste bins, packaging away from food. Keeping all maintenance-related items such as tools, nuts and bolts, lubricants and rags in a specified area. Storing hoses and other cords coiled on hooks and off the floor when not in use. Ensure no raw materials or packaging materials of finished products come into direct contact with the floor. Do not allow foods that are not suitable for consumption to be mistaken for other foods. Maintenance. Report faults in machinery and servicing requirements to appropriate persons as elements of a preventative maintenance system. Conduct audits of machinery as to their operational efficiency and suitability for specified tasks. Only provide correct and certified repairs or servicing to machinery. Temporary repairs are not generally acceptable unless they have been risk assessed and are controlled. Do not use discarded food containers for storage during servicing as they may be transported back into the production process. Storage. All food materials need to be stored appropriately in order to prevent food contamination. Adhering to protocols in storage that reduce the potential for contamination will assist in the final distribution of safe and suitable food. The following points support good storage practices. Inspection of raw materials before acceptance against relevant criteria such as temperature and packaging condition and integrity. Ensuring ingredient and material containers are suitable for their intended purpose and are cleaned and sanitized periodically to prevent contamination through insect infestation, microbial growth or physical hazard entry. Ensuring storage shelving, racking and pallets are constructed of appropriate materials, well maintained and situated off the floor and away from walls. It is important to consider that some regulatory, certification and customer standards nominated specified distances for storage off the floor and away from walls. Ensuring all chemicals are approved for use, correctly labeled and stored under monitored conditions, so as not to be confused with food ingredients or become hazards in food production. Ensure pest control systems such as vermin baits allow easy identification of their presence, and do not provide potential for contamination of foods. Ensure designated storage areas are clean and free from contaminating odors, in good state of repair, and free from vermin and other animals. Ensure foods and items such as packaging are stored under conditions that do not allow contamination. Restricted items in specified areas. There are many materials that are often prohibited in food production areas due to their potential for causing harm to consumers. The presence of the following items in production, packaging, storage and handling areas is of major concern: paper clips, rubber bands, thumbtacks, pins, nails, screws, steel wool, wood. If wooden materials such as wooden pallets must be used, it is highly recommended that they be maintained in a good state of repair. Staples. Glassware applicable, may be unavoidable as light fittings and instruments, but can still be contained through common sense methods of control and management. Packaging containers can cause contamination during opening either from external sources, or by parts of the packaging breaking loose and contacting the food. Associated physical food hazards. Ingredients such as dried goods can be sifted or screened prior to use to reduce the possibility of foreign matter within the packaged or stored product being transported further into the production process. Cleanliness. All persons working in direct contact with food, food contact surfaces, and food packaging materials should conform to hygienic practices while on duty to the extent necessary to protect against contamination of food. Methods for maintaining cleanliness include, but are not limited to, wearing outer garments suitable to the operation in a manner that protects against the contamination of food, food contact surfaces, or food packaging materials. Maintaining adequate personal cleanliness. Washing hands thoroughly and sanitizing if necessary to protect against contamination with undesirable microorganisms in an adequate hand washing facility before starting work, after each absence from the workstation, and at any other time when the hands may have become soiled or contaminated. Removing all unsecured jewelry and other objects that might fall into food, equipment, or containers, and removing hand jewelry that cannot be adequately sanitized during periods in which food is manipulated by hand. If such hand jewelry cannot be removed, it may be covered by material which can be maintained in an intact, clean, and sanitary condition and which effectively protects against the contamination by these objects of the food, food contact surfaces, or food packaging materials. If gloves are worn by the food handlers, they should be intact and clean. Regular changing of gloves is paramount. The gloves should be made from an impermeable food-grade material. Wearing, where appropriate, in an effective manner, hair nets, headbands, caps, beard covers, or other effective hair restraints, and storing clothing or other personal belongings in areas other than where food is exposed or where equipment or utensils are washed. Confining the following to areas other than where food may be exposed or where equipment or utensils are washed: eating food, chewing gum, drinking beverages, or using tobacco. Taking any other necessary precautions to protect against contamination of food, food contact surfaces, or food packaging materials with microorganisms or foreign substances including, but not limited to, perspiration, hair, cosmetics, tobacco, chemicals, and medications applied to the skin. Cross-contamination. Cross-contamination can occur when pathogenic microorganisms are transferred from one food or food contact surface to another, carried by utensils, hands or other foods. Another form of cross-contamination involves allergens, and usually occurs due to improper cleaning between production runs. This is more commonly known as cross-contact for allergens. Cross-contamination can be controlled within the food processing environment through effective and adequate cleaning and sanitizing procedures, along with staff participation in procedures implemented to reduce its occurrence. Controlling cross-contamination is critical where raw and ready-to-eat products are being prepared, and certain activities can minimize and eliminate its potential. Signage. Signage is commonly used within all food industry sectors to promote food safety and quality, as well as occupational health and safety. It is important that signage is appropriately constructed and fitted, so as not to become a food hazard. It is generally accepted that signage should be constructed of flexible, waterproof and cleaning chemical-resistant materials. This excludes hard or brittle substances such as rigid plastic or perspex, which may potentially enter foods as physical hazards. When signage is referenced to procedures, policies, or other components of the documented food safety and quality systems, references should be made to the content of such. The relevant signage should be included within a register, for example, the document register, to ensure that the signage is amended whenever the associated policies or procedures are amended. If your food business supplies foodstuffs manufactured to a customer's specifications, it is important to consider any specific good housekeeping practices development requirements in relation to their items. Document. A document provides guidance and/or direction for performing work, making decisions, or rendering judgments which affect the safety or quality of the products or services that customers receive. Documented policies, procedures, work instructions and schedules form the basis of any food safety and quality management system. The following documentation formats may be considered to ensure ongoing compliance with specified requirements for good housekeeping practices. Good Housekeeping Practices Policy. Good Housekeeping Practices Development Procedures. Good Housekeeping Practices Implementation Procedures and Work Instructions. Good Housekeeping Practices Monitoring Procedures. Good Housekeeping Practices Corrective and Preventative Action Procedures. Good Housekeeping Practices Verification Schedule. Good Housekeeping Practices Verification Procedures. Good Housekeeping Practices Validation Schedule. Good Housekeeping Practices Validation Procedures. Good Housekeeping Practices Training Procedures. If your food business supplies foodstuffs manufactured to a customer's specifications, it is important to consider any specific good housekeeping practices documentation requirements in relation to their items. You may wish to visit the Good Housekeeping Practices Templates section of HACCP.com for examples of good housekeeping practices documentation, record and resource formats commonly applied within food safety and quality systems. Did you know that HACCP.com includes resources that allow you to create, manage and implement GFSI and HACCP-based food safety and quality programs? Improve your food safety and quality skills and knowledge? Train and develop your team to create better food safety and quality outcomes? Find suppliers and service providers to partner with your business? The information and training resources available through HACCP.com include a variety of formats, such as website content, MP4, MP4 and text, MP3, PDF and slideshow. Are you ready to take the next step in your food compliance journey? Visit HACCP.com today to create your profile and access the full versions of our food safety and quality information packages and much more.